Episode 3 from 35 or 36 or 37 of season 1 or season 2 or season 3. The best of the 4th episode, the recap. Chasing the game, Ivy. This one is about the player, Matt. That's what we love to talk about.
Because everyone says development. Parents say it, clubs say it, trainers say it, coaches say it. But the word can mean almost anything if you do not clearly define it, or better yet, understand that definition.
Yeah, when we started the show, remember I had hair, we were asking the same questions that a lot of parents ask. Is my kid training enough? Are they on the same team? Should they play up? The playing up thing, my God. Should they get more private session? Why does my kid look great in training and disappear in game? And I always say parents, but it's like we have nothing to do with it, but these are actually our questions.
Yeah, your questions.
Yeah.
Over the season, the answers got more demanding. The guests kept pushing us away from appearances and toward transfer. Does the training transfer to the game?
Wow.
Does winning teach anything? Does winning teach everything? Does the player recognize the moment? Does the environment create real problems to solve? And is the player capable?
Yeah, so just like in our earlier one, we had to start with Sean McCafferty from New York Red Bulls, the academy director. Just so much in that episode. This is a very short clip, but the reason it works is Sean gives us the danger of easy success. If you win all the time, there's zero development.
It is the right first soundbite because it sets up the whole tension of the episode. Winning is not bad. False progress is bad.
Matt, this is that fine line, right? It's the dangerous line for parents, us included. 1/3 lost is an acceptable loss ratio. I don't know. It forces us to ask, what are we here for? What do we want from this game? Is it about winning, or is there a little bit more behind that?
I can't imagine the parents at MLS professional academies being satisfied with 1/3 loss percentages.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
we also did not want this episode to become anti-winning. That would have been too easy and also wrong. And competition is part of development.
So later in the season, it was such a big one to end the season with. We got Juan Santamaria from Cedar Stars, and he brought in this completely lucid way of thinking about winning. It's not a dirty word. He gave us that missing counterweight, and this point is what drives us through.
Yeah, and winning is very much part of development. The problem is not wanting to win. The problem is when winning becomes the only thing adults can understand. And this is something that Evan Rosenthal at Manhattan Kickers talked a lot about, and they work with kids at a very young age up through U12. Winning matters. Learning to win and caring about winning really matters.
Here's Juan. That was a big one.
Juan is wonderful. And look, he gives us the balance. Development without competition can become soft. Competition without development can become empty.
Yeah, so maybe this is the episode, right? It's not winning versus development, which initially I think we kind of were in, it's okay, it's not all about winning. But like you said, the more we grew into it, better winning, honest winning, winning in the right game, winning that asks the player to solve a problem.
Yeah, Nil Congost from EOS Football in Barcelona brings the next layer. He gives us a Catalan and Barcelona lens, but without the romance. The environment matters, but does not magically fix or make a player.
We chose this clip because it punctuates the idea of the fantasy, right? Oh, I'm going to go to Europe. I'm going to play for Barca. Or there's another Disney world of soccer out there, but talent still has to be shaped. Culture does help, but it doesn't replace hard work. Another great interview you missed.
Yeah, well, there's a theme here.
Yeah, I mean, talk about reducing the fantasy. This brilliant soccer mind just How do we get these gifts? My God. Okay, I'll just say it very simply, but the skill is recognizing when to do something. That's the difficult skill.
That's profound.
Second episode in a row.
Can the player see the moment? Can they choose the right action under pressure?
Yeah.
That is the bridge between training and the game. And I think, at least for me, it's something once we had this discussion with Christian that I can pay attention to, right? Understanding in the moment what the skill is or what the technique is where you can beat a defender, something to understand and to watch for. That clip explains something every parent has seen. A player can look clean in a session and still struggle in a match because the session did not ask the same questions as the game.
It's frustrating, right? Obviously, forget how the money you spend, the effort of being in these sessions and chasing it. Because a nice session, oh, this has been an intense training. It's comforting, right? The cones, the touches, it all looks good. The video, the finishes, but I don't know. This is not what this is about.
Yeah, Christian Gonzalez adds another piece. General practice creates general results. We chose this because it supports Silva without repeating him. More reps are not automatically better reps.
Yeah, it is a boring truth, Matt. It's a boring, boring truth.
Well, that's perfect for us, Lauren.
Wait, the truth or the boring? General practice gives general outcome. Well, I guess we can close the show after this. It's not going to get better.
Yeah, but you know something? I mean, of all these episodes we've done and these incredible people we've had the privilege of speaking to, Christian talked a lot about clarity and about communication. And from my own lived experience, the clarity and the communication has been one of the biggest challenges, I think, for the players at times and certainly for the parents. And it's something that's clearly top of mind for Christian and New York Soccer Club. So Evan Rosenthal from Manhattan Kickers gives us the cultural version of that point. Step overs before weak foot passing, style before substance, Instagram before game understanding. Not on the top of the list for Evan.
No, he's not impressed.
No.
Look, we chose this because every parent has this in their mind, right? But it's funny on one hand, we're laughing, but it's we're trying to be serious, right? The market rewards something that looks impressive, but the game rewards something completely different. Here it is. We've seen it in our community a lot, how kids have changed through the years. Those who we thought at a young age were one place are nowhere to be seen now, and vice versa.
Liron, a funny anecdote though. My daughter's U8, U9 team, the coach did a wonderful job after each week of summarizing what they were working on in training and having how that was going to try to translate into the matches. And a lot of these girls are just starting to play for the first time. And he talked about how they spent an entire session on step overs. and I immediately went to Evan and in that episode, and I was like, we can't do this. I've got to talk to him.
I almost wish.
Why are we working on step overs?
I almost wish there was a show to talk about that stuff.
Oh my gosh!
Wow!
I'll find somebody for you.
Yeah, sure. So the next clip is Matt Poland, Coach Matt Poland, who from Naples FC, the head coach, and he gives us this idea of elite and correction. What does that mean? He talks about the last 15%, right? The difference between good and truly elite, and it's back to not new tricks or a new skill. It's just about doing that action at that absurd level.
Yeah, and Naples FC is not to be confused with Napoli. This is Naples in Florida, and it's a USL League One team that just launched this year very successfully. We chose this also because it humbles the highlight culture. The best players are often not doing more. They're seeing faster, choosing better, and executing cleaner.
It's not simple, Matt. People take it for granted, but it's actually the most complicated thing probably is to make the right decision under pressure. And the right decision is the simple one when you see it on TV or see it from the side, but in real time takes an enormous amount of work and dedication.
Yeah. And this clip, it paired directly with Christian Silva. Recognition and execution. Simple actions under pressure. This is not basic. That is elite.
And then we get to patience, because if development is real, it cannot only belong to the kids who look ready early. It takes a while for it to cook.
Dr. Chris Platts gives us the risk of prediction. God, we bring so much to this, Laurent. I mean, these diverse perspectives. Coaches are asked to make decisions about what a 15, 16-year-old might become at 20 or 21. That is an impossible job dressed up as certainty.
Yeah, and now we chose this clip because it protects the late developers, but it also because it makes everyone more humble. Parents, coaches, clubs, none of us can see the future, except maybe you. we visited a little bit in the part one of the best of the season 2, which is episode 37, called The Maze. But we talked about this a little bit. It's hard to recognize development, and thinking you're recognizing development still doesn't give you any sense of certainty.
Which is why coaching matters so much. Not just the curriculum, the judgment, the ability to see the players in front of you and adapt. And arguably, I mean, when I listen to this clip again, I think about just the overall methodology, the strategy as it relates to late developers. Like, what's the willingness for a club at any level to really think about and work with late developers so that there's a plan in place for everybody where everybody benefits?
Maybe we're in a hurry, Matt, right? Maybe we're in a hurry as a community, as in the United States, because of college, or because the path supposedly splits at a certain age. Is that if you're not a considered pro by what Dr. Platts just said, by 17 or 18, well, you're going to college or you're pretty much done. And it's very difficult from that point on to go pro. But in a way, if you think about how we grew up with soccer, I mean, I grew up in the European side of soccer. You weren't turning pro at 17. It just did not happen unless you were one or two of the best of the best. But there were no pro contracts given to 16, 17, 18-year-old kids at the time. That wasn't something normal.
Maybe the word pro shouldn't even be used. Until you're at a certain point, or until a kid or a player is at a certain point. I mean, is that not a real core part of this issue? Like, doesn't this go back to what Chris Platt said in a different clip with us, which was understanding what the parent wants and what the player wants and what's realistic? Because, I mean, the fact that we're even using the word pro when less than 1% of players become pros.
Yeah.
And it's less than that at the highest levels, which is, back to another problem we've talked about, where kids talk about being a pro and then they realize that playing 4th division in the Netherlands is something that's very real and not necessarily playing, in the
and
Prem
hard
when
and
you're 18
hard.
years old. Really hard. Really hard. Yeah.
Yeah, no, you're right. So, but we can't close this episode without talking about coaching. We're not going to give coaches a break. Jose Campos from Orlando City Academy, is going to close this episode, gives us a little bit of coaching humility. He talks about model. You can have a philosophy, a model, ask all the right questions, but not all players fit a certain model. And to help a player grow, if you're not seeing that, you're missing the point. Maybe maybe what we need to do is just get all these incredible guests to just interview each other. I think what nobody needs is you and I, because this just.
I mean, we've heard that before.
We did, yeah, and this episode's prove it for sure. Look, Matt, this was a privilege to talk about it like that. And I think it showed how much has changed in us, right? It's our journey too as parents, and we hope to our listeners too. We started asking what makes a kid better, which was the simple question, but we ended up with very difficult answers.
Yeah, I would say the change is theoretical, though. I mean, I'd love to say it's real. I hope it's real in us, that is. We're getting there day by day.
Listen, people, these clips are for you. They're not trying to dissuade you from the game or make you think that it's all bad and things are impossible. It's about us as parents educating ourselves to know what to ask, to know what to look for, and to always remember that we're surrounded by a community of those that really want our kids to succeed.
Yeah, competition with purpose, winning that teaches, training that transfers, recognition, not just technique. Simple action too. What is that?
Yeah.
Next week is the finale, the long game. After the maze, the costs, and the player, we ask the question, what are we really chasing?
And after that, going on vacation. Matt, I'll see you in a week.
Liron, you're the
Same,
best.
brother. Bye.